I was privileged to attend my second ELCA National Youth Gathering with the youth of First Lutheran Church here. With your supports and prayers, we were able to send 12 youth and 3 adult leaders to this gathering. Thank you so much for making this trip possible. The gathering, which had more than 30,000 participants in attendance, is held every 3 years. The theme this year was the Gospel of Mark. This morning, we have a few of the participants here to speak about some of the God moments that they experienced there. Some will touch on the speakers that were meaningful to them, the lively worship services, and the joy that we mutually received from living in their community for a week. Enjoy.
Hello, I am Kaylee Ronkvist. Well, all of the speakers at the gathering were excellent. I don't think there was any that I didn't like, but my favorite was by far Marion Wright Endelman. She grew up as an African-American woman in segregated South Carolina, but yet she was able to graduate from Yale Law, and in 1963, she became the first African-American woman to practice law in Mississippi. Throughout her law career, she filed dozens of lawsuits in Mississippi courts on behalf of poor families and founded the Children's Defense Fund, which was the nation's first lobby devoted to children, and she's now the president of that today. But a few of her points that really struck me was, the first one is that God runs a full employment economy. And if you just follow the need, you'll never lack for a good purpose in life. And the other one was, service is the rent we pay for living. And after she said that, she thanked everyone at the gathering for the work we had done in Detroit for the rent we had paid. In her speech, she brought up how on the day that he died, Martin Luther King Jr. called his mom and told her the sermon that he had prepared for the following Sunday. The sermon was about how America as a whole is addressing poverty so poorly. And then Endelman gave this surprising statistic that 14 million poor children live in America, 6 million of which live in extreme poverty. And that statistic has just stuck in my head. It's hard to imagine that. And I think her speech was just a wake-up call to us all. And I'd encourage you all to watch it online, as it's truly moving.
All right, so I'm Noelle Neubauer, and I went to New Orleans 3 years ago, and I decided to go back to the National Youth Gathering because I wanted to help more people, and also it's super fun to be around 30,000 other Lutherans. Detroit was a lot different than New Orleans because, for one, when we went to New Orleans, we flew, and we took a bus to Detroit, we spent a lot more time with each other, really close to one another. And when we were waiting for our service project, we got to meet a lot of new people. Some people that we met were from Maryland, and others were from like Ohio. And we learned new games, and we got to see why other people went to Detroit, which was a lot of fun. And along with making new friends, I got a lot closer to the people that went on the trip from First Lutheran, which was really fun because I can say I have new friends now. Yeah, and it was just overall a really great experience.
I am Josiah Johnson, and this was the first time I went to a youth gathering in Detroit and just in general. So I'm not sure if one of the two told you yet, but we had planned to do a community service project, which, due to a car accident, backed up all the buses, and our group, along with several others, didn't get a chance to actually do that service project. So all of us were feeling, you know, kind of like that was the main thing that we wanted to do, so we were feeling a little down. The next day, we went to the Cobo Center, which is the very large building in Detroit that has, you know, just conventions and stuff like that. And in the Cobo Center, I was just walking around, and everyone has their little groups, right? Everyone is wearing like a bright orange shirt, kind of like Mara is, or everyone's wearing Jesus is love. You know, everyone's got their own little herd. But then there's this one guy who looks like he kind of just walked in and wanted to see what was going on. And he's wearing a black sweatshirt and a flat-brimmed cap. And he's, you know, kind of getting to middle age. This is a 34-year-old black man named Dante. Now, I thought he looked a little bit out of place in, you know, this sea of Minnesota Lutherans. So I walked up and I said, hey, you know, what brings you to the ELCA youth gathering? And from there, we talked about what it's like to grow up in Detroit. He's lived there his entire life. All 34 years he's lived in Detroit, in the ghetto. Now, me, I live in a nice neighborhood. So it was very touching and kind of like life-changing to meet Dante, because he put a whole new perspective on what it is to, you know, live in that kind of neighborhood. He talked about how when he goes into a store, the cashier follows him around because they think he's going to steal something. When he's walking down the streets in downtown Detroit, people cross the street because they don't want to walk by him, because they think he might mug them or something. And he talked with me for 30 minutes, and I felt truly changed. You know, I had a whole new lens to look through. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Kim Neubauer, and I was one of the youth leaders, which was a really different experience for me because I've never done anything like that. My church didn't have anything that was a big youth gathering to go to, so kind of stepped out of my comfort zone going on this trip, and it was well rewarding. Got to know the youth a lot better. Learned quickly when we checked into the hotel you had to go with the flow because a lot of things happened, and on a side note, we'll discuss that if you ever want to know what that was, but don't have time today. But every day had a theme to it, and one of the days that I really liked was the Proclaim Story Day, where we reviewed the part of Mark, the gospel about the paralytic. Where did you see yourself in the story? Writing your timeline down in life, and that was God's story so far in your life as to where you are, your highs and lows, which the youth that night when we discussed it didn't get a lot out of that, but the 3 or 4 adults sitting by each other did, looking at where we've been, where we've come, who's helped you get there. And that was neat, talking to Bob and Nancy and Wendy. Tom was sitting over by the other youth, but and then the next part of that is writing a new timeline and where's God calling you to. And for me, Detroit was part of a calling to, just like doing confirmation and being on the church council now. So a lot of change. And then another part of that is I got a text in the evening from somebody at Chetek Family Camp, and I was told I was missed there a lot, which that one got me too, but that was cool. So if you ever have a chance for Chetek Family Camp, go. And Ford Field worship at night was pretty amazing. The singers anywhere from Motown, 2 of the Temptations were there. I think it was one of the Miracle and one of the Civic, I think it was called. anyway, they sang, and we had toured Motown, and that was quite overwhelming, watching Mara's reaction to that, watching Kaylee, my daughter's reaction to Ford Field, just watching a youth absorb all of that. And then for me, I got overwhelmed at night for some of the music. Motown, wow, pretty amazing. Blanca, who sings Who I Am, and I looked at Nancy, I said, I love that song. And so your hands are up, you're praising with 30,000 youth. That's incredible. And then another song was Love Can Build a Bridge. There was a 12-year-old singing, and they brought all these lit balls down the aisles. I was like, what are they doing? Well, they formed 3 crosses on the floor, and then 3 hearts in the stands, and his shirt had a heart. It was just amazing watching him sing. And then every night, getting together with the youth, I know I'm hurrying, getting together with the youth and discussing the day, highs and lows, that got me to know them so much more, and what an awesome group of people we have here. So it was a great experience for me. I could say more, but I won't.
Good morning. My name is Mara Johnson, and today I'll briefly be talking about what we brought to Detroit and what Detroit brought to us. So, as we have talked about, we weren't able to do our service project, unfortunately, and so a lot of us were feeling really down because what a lot of us wanted to do there was bring the service projects and like help out and discover what Detroit really was and getting hands-on in the community. But we discussed many times about how we don't need to necessarily do a service project to make a difference in the city. And so different things that we did for Detroit without really knowing it at the time was we brought $30 million into the economy for that city, which is amazing. We also brought them a sense of hope, and we reminded them that they're not alone. We weren't there to fix the situation that they were in, but we were there to walk with them. Even just walking down the streets and greeting them and saying hi to them brought a smile to their faces. Detroit is a lot different from St. Peter, as you can imagine. And just learning the history and the culture of the city and experiencing the pride they had for their home was truly inspiring and great to bring back to St. Peter.
Hi, my name is Sarah Ronquist, and this was my second National Youth Gathering. And it honestly was a blast to go to Detroit. And one of my favorite parts was just meeting all the other people who have come to Detroit to help out and be there. And so while we were waiting for our service project before the whole fiasco, we were waiting all day. But there was a group from Ohio who was playing this game called Kumcha. So none of us had any idea what this was. And so essentially what it is it's a rhythm game. And so everyone around the circle will be doing kumcha, kumcha, kumcha. And then someone will be passing around the bunny. So it's like bunny, 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 bunny. Or if the person's next to you is doing bunny, you go togi, 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 togi. So it's a very odd game. And just sitting on the sides and watching them play this game we all were just in awe and had no idea how it worked. And so they invited us to play. And so we ended up learning how to play, and people from all around the area who were just waiting for a service project joined in. So we had a group of about 30 or 40 going. And so we did this for quite a while, probably half an hour to an hour. And it was an absolute blast. And then fast forward a couple days, had some downtime, and we're just hanging out. So we decided oh, hey, let's play Kumcha. And so there happened to be another group from the youth gathering who was watching us. We're like, oh, do you guys want to come play? So then we taught them how to play Kumcha. And so I thought that was super cool, how a group from Ohio had passed this game on to us, and we passed this group on to another one. So it seemed it was just traveling between the 30,000 people from all over the place, and yet we all found the joy in this same little silly game. So I just loved that experience, and I'll always have that memory.
Hello, my name is Jacob Lamb, and this was my first National Youth Gathering. I decided to go on the gathering because both my sisters went on one to New Orleans when they were my age, and my mom also chaperoned at one and just really recommended it to me. Personally, I didn't really know the group that I was going with all that well. I didn't know what we were going to do. I didn't know the agenda. So I kind of just went into it with an open mind and a positive attitude, kind of wished for the best. And I have to say it was a really, really, really great week. I had a lot of fun, met a lot of new people, had a great experience. I'm going to talk a little bit more about what I got out of the experience rather than what we did like everyone else, because they kind of covered it. They did a good job. What I got out of it was that what I think we brought to the city of Detroit more than the amount of money or the service projects is we boosted the morale of the people that were there. They were happy. Everyone was thankful that we were there. Everyone was friendly. It was a really rundown city, but everyone had positive attitudes. Everyone had hope that it was just going to get better. And then another thing that I really noticed was everyone is really concerned about the lack of youth in the Lutheran Church after people get confirmed. And almost everyone at the gathering was already confirmed, so I think it was just kind of like a friendly reminder that there are still a lot of youth out there trying to make a difference and trying to do something with the church even after they get confirmed, and they're still going strong, so no need to worry, we're still around. But yeah, I had a great experience at Detroit, and I would definitely recommend it to anyone younger that can go to Houston in 2018.
Hello, I'm Bob Lamb, and I was also one of the leaders, so to speak. It didn't feel like a leader too much. It was easy. I went into it with I was a little nervous about it, quite nervous about it. But the youth were awesome. We've got very good children out there. It was easy, so I enjoyed it very much, and it was a rewarding experience. And there's plenty of youth out there that see the connection, and it was just a joyous week. You know, it wasn't unusual at all for us to meet other youth where we're all just high-fiving each other and for no reason at all other than just having fun, you know. But so that was fun. But I wanted to share a little bit about what we did each night. We went to Ford Field. Ford Field is where the Detroit Lions play, and it's a nice dome. You know, I'd like to see a football game there sometime. But it was set up really. It looked like a church. Yeah, it was a neat setup, and each night we'd have a variety of speakers and musicians, and they're all excellent. It started out by Elizabeth Eaton, our bishop, welcomed us all, and each night we had a speaker that was a former YAGM, a Young Adult and Global Mission. It was especially good for me to hear their stories. I enjoyed that. And but at the end of the night, we'd get back to our hotel, and we'd talk about these speakers and musicians, and the youth would share their opinions or their likes or dislikes, and it was just real rewarding to see the wheels turning and the thinking going on, and how intelligent they really all are, you know. And so that was good. And it was I went to the gathering back when I was a kid, but this was much different for me. And for those of you that do have children coming up, if you have the opportunity to send your children to one of these National Youth Gatherings, I'd highly recommend it. I just want to give kudos to Nancy here. She did a super job planning it. That's a lot of work involved planning it, and she did a great job leading us, and kudos to her and all of us really. But it was a very rewarding experience. It's tough to put into words, but I can definitely say they all enjoyed it. I'm pretty sure of that. Thank you.